Hello, you guys, and welcome back to the Crime with Kylie podcast. This is the second episode of our 2025 season, and I'm so happy to see you here. Now, as always, we go over very sensitive topics and sensitive information in these videos. Just like in the last episode, if you watched it, we will be talking about dismemberment and murder. Now, the thing I really have to warn you about with this episode is you will most likely leave with more questions than answers. We will be talking about a young girl named Amanda Overstreet. She went missing 20 years ago in 2005 when she was 16 years old. But Amanda was never formally reported as missing, and she was only discovered to be missing once her severed head was found in a freezer. Without further ado, let's get into the case. Amanda was born into a troubled situation in Texas. Her own biological mother, Leanne Overstreet, could not care for her, and so Amanda was adopted at the age of 3 by her maternal grandmother, Nelda Overstreet, and her grandfather. Nelda was a beloved math teacher at Warren High School in County, Texas. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I probably am. I'm very sorry. I will have the location on the screen. And so for most of her childhood, her preteen years, and her teen years, she was living with her grandma, and things seemed to be good. According to those who befriended her at the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school, they said that Amanda was very spunky, but she was not a loner. She was very well known. She had sass. She would always have cool t-shirts with things on them, other sassy sayings. Whereas many other preteen girls may have felt kind of shy and awkward to show their real true personality, Amanda was not like that at all. She was the complete opposite. I probably in middle school, high school would have needed Amanda, someone like an Amanda, because I was kind of weird, kind of awkward, but not cool, not kind of well known. Kind of. Not like that, though. I don't know. Amanda, just looking at her photos with her and her friends, she seemed like someone you would just love to be friends with. One of her friends, I believe, posted in a Facebook group, which, if this case resonates with you as much as it does with me, I recommend joining it. It's, I believe, called Remembering Amanda Overstreet, Getting Justice for Her. One of her friends posted a picture of her and Amanda, and they were just being silly and dressing up in ties, men's ties. And I just think it is the most precious photo. I absolutely love it. You can just tell she was a good friend. She was fun. She was high-spirited. Why would someone not like Amanda? And then there's Amanda's mother, Leanne Overstreet, who quite literally left her daughter, got with this guy named Bradley David Imer, got 2 other children, and did not come back for Amanda until 2004. And the only reason is because, tragically, Amanda's grandmother got terminal cancer. And so she was passing away, and she ended up passing away. And so Amanda was taken from Texas, taken away from all of her friends, and her home, frankly, because that's where she grew up. And she was taken to Colorado in a house that wasn't her home, with people that weren't her family. And mind you, this was in late 2004, early 2005, and around that time was the time that Amanda disappeared and was never seen or heard from again. I believe the last time someone could recall speaking to her, or at least seeing her, was April of 2005 in Grand Junction, Colorado. Now, I guess Bradley David Imer, Amanda's stepdad, was vocal with some of the neighbors about his distaste for Amanda. Now, to give you a little more information on Bradley David Imer, he has now passed away. He passed away in 2021 following a case of COVID-19 and cardiovascular failure. But he, in 2002, so 3 years before Amanda went missing, was caught in Arizona with drugs and I believe 8 guns in the vehicle. He was pulled over after driving erratically, and it also turned out that he was driving under the influence. The police officers found methamphetamines and 8 illegal guns. Now, some may think that this part is just hearsay because it has not been confirmed, but that's what a lot of this case is at the moment. A lot of it is he said, she said, what happened when, and it turns out neighbors really, really remembered Bradley David Imer and Leanne Overstreet, and here are some of the things that they had to say. So, to set the scene, I kind of don't blame the neighbors at all for remembering them, because the pictures that you're seeing on the screen are pictures of the inside of their home. Their home, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, when it got resold, had to be completely redone on the inside because, for lack of a better term, they were disgusting hoarders. And as I mentioned a little bit ago, Leanne actually went on to have 2 more children with Bradley David Imer, children that they raised. And one of those children is named Elise. Now, according to a neighbor, he said that him and his spouse, as well as other people in the neighborhood, called CPS on the Imers on multiple occasions due to concerns about the well-being of Elise. The neighbor said that the Imers' house was so bad that neighbors had helped him on multiple occasions to clear it out, only for it to return to the same hoarder-level condition as before. He said that as they practically lived off of Mountain Dew and that Elise would often be upstairs alone just staring out the window for all hours of the night. The neighbor recalled a time when Bradley came home around 8 at night with Elise in the truck. Elise was absolutely terrified. Bradley was slurring his words and acting extremely drunk. They called 911, which upset Bradley. Bradley had downed a ton of over-the-counter cough medicine and was driving around with a child. That is from one of their neighbors. And based off of all their other actions, including what I'm about to tell you guys next, I think that seems pretty probable. But as the investigation is active and ongoing, it has not been confirmed. Here is probably the biggest question. How did Amanda go missing and no one seemed to notice or care? How was she not reported as missing? According to her mom, Leanne Overstreet, Bradley David Imer, and a few other family members, there are multiple different stories. Several of the stories were told by Leanne, and they are conflicting. So apparently things were horrible between Amanda and Leanne and Bradley David Imer. And he even allegedly told a neighbor that she was like the devil's child. Like, he hated her, and he made that very clear. And as like a child who's practically her mom is, her grandma, but her mom passed away, her mother figure. That's so hard. And then she was pried away from all that was familiar to her, her friends, her school, her family. She's grieving. And now she's with this woman who didn't even want her, and with like this guy who hates her, who just seems like an atrocious person. And so, like, yeah, I can imagine things were very, very hard on Amanda. And the house was in terrible condition. It was always in shambles on the inside. That's no living condition for a young lady. So, yeah, but between all those factors, I can see how things were very, very heated between all of them. So, Leanne apparently called one of her relatives down in Texas and was like, I need to bring Amanda back. And so that is what allegedly happened. But in the first story, and this story was said by one of Amanda's relatives. So like, they wanted to remain anonymous. It might be a cousin, it might be an aunt, but we know that it's one of the relatives who she would have gone to live with if this plan actually happened. All right, so apparently Leanne told this family member, hey, I'm bringing Amanda back. But we got partway there. We got to Amarillo, Texas, which, mind you, Amarillo, Texas is a 9.5-hour drive from Colorado, like Grand Junction, Colorado. So they apparently got 9.5 hours into this drive. Amanda, Bradley, and Leanne in the same car. Then they get to like this gas station rest stop. And allegedly, they have a fight. Amanda leaves. She runs away. And instead of just like getting her back in the car, instead of calling the police, they apparently just turned around and went back to Colorado. That's it. And that is what Leanne allegedly told that family member back in 2005. That Amanda just ran away at a rest stop. That's it. And apparently those family members did try to report Amanda missing, but they did not have enough information. Now Bradley David Imer also said that Amanda ran away. But he said that she ran away, and this is what he told a neighbor back in the day. He told a neighbor that she ran away when Leanne tried to drive her back to Texas. Just Leanne. Like Bradley David Imer wasn't in the car. So that's another story, another version of the story. And now here's a third version of the story from Leanne Overstreet, 2024. She broke her silence on all of this because she moved out of that house, left all this junk behind, including 4 freezers, one of them that had her daughter's head and hands in the freezer. So she breaks her silence, and she says that Bradley David Imer alone was the one who was supposed to drive her back to Texas. And I don't want to get her words wrong. I don't want to misquote her. This is exactly what she said in 2024. Leanne Imer said that in April of 2005, Bradley Imer said he would take Amanda back to Texas to live with her grandfather. The plan was that they would meet at Imer's aunt's house in Dallas, Texas, and she would take Amanda to live with her grandfather. But the plan allegedly went wrong. What he told me is that they had just gotten into Amarillo and that she, Amanda, started fighting in the car and that he pulled off the highway because it was unsafe. He pulled off to the side of the road, she got out, walked off, flipped him off, and then walked around the corner. He said that he waited there for a few minutes and then drove around the corner to follow her, but he said he couldn't find her. The way he described it, it was vivid. I mean, I could see it happening. I had no reason to question him. Leanne Imer said that Bradley Imer told her that he waited for Amanda at a nearby barbecue restaurant for several hours before calling Imer's aunt to inform her of what happened. He talked to my aunt, he said, "Screw this crap, you deal with this," and he came back to Colorado. And according to Leanne, she told Bradley that she wanted to report her daughter as missing, and according to her, Bradley responded and said, "You can't do that because you are not Amanda's legal guardian, and only her legal guardian can report her as missing." Now, as I'm sure you guys know, that is like utter BS. You can report someone as missing even if you are not their legal guardian. You could be their cousin, you could be their friend. Like, you see that all the time. Like, that's just a lie. So, who knows? Maybe he did say that to Leanne and maybe she just believed him, but I don't know. It's so hard to believe, at least to me. So anyways, that is the third version of events of what happened. But because Amanda was found in the Colorado home in the freezer, at least her partial remains were, just her head and her hands, that means that drive never happened. Unless it's like one of them or both of them drove her partway there and turned back and brought her back to Colorado. But that also doesn't make sense because they wanted to get rid of her and did not want to live with her, clearly. So why would they like drive all that way, like 9.5 hours, just to turn around, bring her back to Colorado, and then what? Now this leads us to another thing that the neighbor said at the time. And this is highly, highly disturbing because I'm sure you've seen it. I'll show it again. The picture of Bradley David Imer and the fish. As a mother myself, I just want to say that I'm absolutely appalled because if my daughter went missing and if some guy that's not even her dad was like, "Oh, I just lost her and left her out in the middle of Texas somewhere," I'd be livid. Like, he would be the one in the freezer, for sure. And I'd also be calling every single detective agency, police department person. I would just be like plastering my daughter's face everywhere, like, "Please help me find her." But no, Leanne also said in 2024 that she figured that Amanda was just out there living her best life. And that when Amanda would turn 18, she would just magically come back and be like, "Hey, I'm here." Or like give her a phone call. Clearly that never happened. And yeah, so, okay. So now back to another thing that the neighbor said at the time. And this links in, this is a theory, but it links into this picture of Bradley David Imer with the fish because he really loved to fish. And I'm sure you guys have seen the, I'm forgetting his name, but the guy in Canada who was a pig farmer and he disposed of women's bodies, usually women who were women of the night, with like the pigs. Like they would eat the women. Okay? So it's kind of like that. So if that freaked you out, this will also freak you out. But this is what a neighbor said. One day, the neighbors were complaining of a horrible smell coming from the Imer residence. The neighbor went over one day and asked him about it. Bradley told him that they had some rotten potatoes in the house and that they needed to throw them out. He saw buckets outside of the home with what the neighbor described as chunks of rotting meat. Bradley told him that he's using that to make catfish bait and that he needed it to sit and ferment. The neighbor said that he knows in his heart that that was Amanda in the buckets. He is having a hard time forgetting what he saw that day. So that's kind of the main theory of where's the rest of Amanda's body? It could have been used as catfish bait, which is horrendous. And I know I didn't say this part before, but Leanne moved out of that house in, I believe, January of 2024. And then new people moved in, and there's all this stuff that was left behind, including 4 chest freezers. So those new people who had nothing to do with this, they just listed those on Facebook and were like, pick them up, they're free. So the last person left them here, just, I don't want them. So they start to go through them because they're getting rid of them. And they find this bag, and the bag has Amanda's head in it. And then they keep digging, and there's hands in a meat freezer that even Leanne Overstreet said that she used on a regular basis for meat. And that bag belonged in, like, the back of their car. It was, like, some sort of, like, travel car bag. So I just, even leaving meat behind doesn't make sense. So it's like, I at least personally, this is a theory, not a fact, I think that it would make the most sense if she moved out of that house, purposely left Amanda's last remains behind, so that way now she could be like, I don't know how those got there, I clearly did, because if she moved with them, that would be really suspicious, right? But if she left him there, she could be like, I don't know, that was like, maybe my husband did that, maybe my husband left those there, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, makes me so mad. Like, she deserves so much better. She had she was loved by her friends, she was loved by her grandparents, she had other family members who were looking for her, and just her mom and her stepdad clearly, they might have done something, but they clearly did not give a single, like, crap about her, and that's just heartbreaking, because that girl deserved love. Sorry, this case makes me very, very, very heated, and I just want justice for Amanda. I think, like, her friends and the people who knew her growing up have made beautiful, like, memorials for her in Texas. If I lived in Texas, I would definitely go. I'll add pictures on the screen, but sorry, I am getting emotional. But yeah, that's how the discovery happened, and she was officially identified in October, I believe October 11th of 2024, but no one has been arrested. So there's that. Yeah, I believe that's the majority of the information that's currently available on Amanda's case. My heart breaks for her. I feel so bad that, like, all these years, no one was, like, looking for her and, like, knew that she was missing or thought about what happened. It's horrible. But as I mentioned before, the investigation is active. It's ongoing. Sadly, like, Bradley David Imer, if he did do something, because he also told a neighbor, aside from telling the neighbor that he hated Amanda, that she was the devil's spawn, he also told that neighbor that he was glad that she ran away. And that is just a effed thing to say about a 16-year-old girl. Like, if you're saying, like, if she actually got to Texas, which I doubt that she did, but if she did, and she was just, like, out there in the streets, and her stepdad and her mom know that, like, she could have been trafficked. Like, if that was a real story, they should be concerned, or they should have been concerned that their daughter could have been, like, trafficked, subjected to abuse. Like, she was definitely subjected to abuse, probably at the hands of them, but, like, I don't know. The entire thing is infuriating. I'm hoping that the investigation's very thorough and that there's enough evidence to at least convict someone or get an answer, but that is what we know so far about Amanda's case, and I appreciate you guys for watching. I'm sorry that there's not as much information on this case. I felt it was very important to share, though, because not a lot of mainstream media outlets are really, really covering it. Like, they're giving little bits and pieces, like her head and hands were found, but that's about it. Like, they're not getting into her family life or, like, those who knew her, and I think that that's really important to talk about those who knew her and the context. So anyways, I will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.